A special kind of love. Bill on his own, Tuesday.
You race car driver, mister?
Used to be.
Brewster Baker's on the comeback trail after a crack-up, but
I got a problem.
he's got a half-dozen stowaway orphans, a corrupt local sheriff, and too many honky-tonk women on his tail.
Brewster?
Can the kids help him out of the pit and over the finish line before his competition puts him out of the running? Kenny Rogers stars in Six Pack, Wednesday. This is CBS.
Just the thought of snow has made people really get active, and the snow shovel sales are moving right along.
With today's snow, the stock-up has started for a cold Minnesota winter. Tonight in St. Paul, a candlelight march and vigil. Area people wanting to call attention to the anniversary of the deaths in El Salvador of 4 American nuns. Also tonight, Marcia Fleur will report on a new Twin Cities newspaper, Made for Women. The 10 p.m. report on this rather chilly Sunday evening is coming up next.
Groucho, I've gotten you a new fit and trim.
Huh? Oh.
It'll help keep you fit.
Fitness food. Yuck, yuck, okay.
You don't think you'll like it, huh?
Yuck.
Look, it's new fit and trim with a great new taste you'll love, but with less fat and calories than regular dry dog food. Fit and trim even has beefy flavored chunks. Taste it.
Yippity!
See, Groucho, fitness food doesn't have to taste yucko.
Fit and Trim brand dog food from Purina.
Yum, yippity!
The fitness food that tastes great.
Nothing works like a Chevy truck. Nothing works like a Chevy truck. Tough on the job, easy on the block. Nothing works like a Chevy truck. So bring out the sun. Bring on the fun.
Bring on the fun.
You've got the good.
You've got the good.
Get out and run.
If you want a truck that works and plays as hard as you do, you want a Chevy.
Nothing works like a Chevy truck. Nothing works like a Chevy truck.
Well, the winter heating forecast looks like good news and bad news. The bad news is severe cold fronts moving through this area and continuing all winter long. The good news is that no matter how cold it gets, the price of gas for heating will remain the same because rate increases will miss our area completely. This forecast brought to you by Minigasco.
When it comes to your cost of winter comfort, Minigasco cares.
Serving and informing the Twin Cities for 4 decades. This is WCCO Television, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And now, Mike Walsher, Dr. Walt Lyons, and Tom Hanneman bring you Channel 4's 10 p.m. report.
Almost 4 inches of snow landed on the Twin Cities overnight and today. It is the most we have had at once this season. It didn't shut very much down, but it did tell us that winter has indeed moved our way. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this Sunday evening. Not only is it our biggest dose of snow, it'll also be colder tonight than it has been any time since last winter, probably down to about 8 degrees above zero. So there'll be some cold cars and some cold kids to get moving tomorrow morning. Mike Fairborn will be along a bit later in the broadcast with details of the weather outlook. Elsewhere tonight in St. Paul, more than 100 people turned out to remember the deaths of 4 U.S. churchwomen in El Salvador on this, the 4th anniversary of that event. It began with an ecumenical service at the Assumption Catholic Church and was followed then by a march to the Federal Building. The featured speaker was Alicia de Garcia, who's been in the Twin Cities this weekend, talking about war-torn El Salvador. The organizers hope tonight's event will call attention to the need for peace and freedom for El Salvadorans. A St. Paul man was seriously burned this afternoon in a fire at his home at 1157 Summit Avenue. 65-year-old Mel Karproff was treated at St. Paul Ramsey Medical Center. Firefighters believe that Karproff was smoking in bed and a dropped cigarette probably started this blaze. Karproff suffered smoke inhalation and burns. The fire was reported at 3:15 this afternoon. A Winona man who was rejected last week for an artificial heart says he believes he will eventually get that device. 60-year-old Ray Hagan is back at home in Winona now. He says if his health got worse, he would receive an implant. Last week, doctors at the Humana Heart Institute in Louisville, Kentucky, told Hagen he was better off for now with his own heart. Hagen says the move of the institute from Salt Lake City to Louisville delayed things and probably cost him the chance to get an artificial heart right now. Meantime, the world's second artificial heart recipient is doing some pretty normal things, like taking communion. 52-year-old William Schrader is doing fine, according to his doctors. He's eating solid foods, and he's being hooked up to an 11-pound portable pack used to power his plastic and metal heart. Doctors say that Schrader's temperature was normal for a second straight day. That's important. It's a sign that he is not developing an infection. Schrader is said to be somewhat tired, but, quote, looking good. A woman's place is in the news. That's the motto, at least, of the new Twin Cities newspaper, scheduled to hit the newsstands early next year. The paper, which will be free for the taking at about 400 Minneapolis and St. Paul locations, is called the Minnesota Women's Press, and its publisher, Molly Hoban, believes there is a real need for her creation. Marcia Fleur reports.
There's nothing new about publications aimed at women. Schinder Brothers in Minneapolis has a whole rack devoted to women's magazines, everything from Vogue and Mademoiselle to Ms. and Working Mother, but no local women's newspapers. Molly Hoban says the Minnesota Women's Press will offer what those magazines and even some local newspapers don't.
And that means doing more than just reporting facts and more than reporting from an institutional basis. It means reporting from a personal basis. What are the implications for women's lives? And women lead very different lives. We want to be speaking to as many different women as we can, and the way to do that is by acknowledging and looking at what makes us different instead of trying to gloss over differences, at the same time celebrating what makes us the same and what we share.
That means covering women in politics, sports, history, news plus analysis, since a twice-monthly newspaper cannot compete on fast-breaking news items alone. A small staff is shaping the paper in Hoban's St. Paul home, but more than 70 women were involved in the actual development of Minnesota Women's Press, with hundreds more offering ideas and support. Hoban says she isn't trying to compete with Vogue or Harper's.
That doesn't mean that we're not going to be interested in what does fashion say to women? What do women think about themselves when they put on certain kinds of clothes? What are the messages they get and they give, and what are the questions they have about that? What's happening in fashion, and how does it reflect, other things that are happening?
At one time, Hoban was the editor and business manager of a very successful community newspaper. She says she would like to repeat that success with the community of women. This is Marcia Fleur, WCCO Television News, St. Paul.
One of the biggest school districts in the country may virtually shut down tomorrow. That story is coming up. Also, a local man who received a war honor that was a long time in coming.
Want great tasting deep fried foods? Get a great deep fryer, one that makes 4 servings fast. The Presto Fry Daddy deep fryer. One that uses cups of oil, not quarts. The Presto Fry Daddy. One with the ideal temperature preset. No dial, no guess. The Presto Fry Daddy. One that replaces the messy, drippy basket with a handy scoop. The Presto Fry Daddy. It even stores oil for the next times.
Oh.
Presto.
Hello, baby. Yeah, this is the Big Bopper speaking.
Jimmy, head with hair. Long, beautiful hair.
There's a point in your life when the only thing you need to change is your radio station. Welcome to the real world.
There's a complex of pests out there waiting to attack your corn crop. And you need protection that's best for conservation tillage. Counter Systemic Insecticide Nematicide cuts through the clutter to concentrate protection in furrow for the broadest spectrum control you can get. Seed Safe Counter works on contact and systemically for a strong, healthy stand. Counter, banded or in furrow, best for conservation tillage, guaranteed.
Nothing works like a Chevy truck. Nothing works like a Chevy truck. Tough on the job, easy on the block. Nothing works like a Chevy truck.
rugged, massive girder beam front suspension, tough double-wall construction in critical areas, and new Vortec V6 power. A hard day's work goes easier when you have a truck with the built-in tough of a Chevy.
Nothing works like a Chevy truck. Nothing works like a Chevy truck.
Tonight it appears that school children in Chicago are headed for an early Christmas vacation because of a threatened teacher strike there. 28,000 teachers are poised to go out tomorrow after negotiations broke down last night. Teachers voted tonight on whether to go out on strike. They want a pay raise and restoration of all medical benefits they gave up in a past contract. 430,000 students would be affected, and this the 7th teacher strike in Chicago in the past 15 years alone. 12,000 other union members are set to stay off work as well in sympathy with these teachers. Minnesota Republicans are not getting many invitations to the president's inauguration because of the Mondale victory here in November. The IRs have been told they will receive only 320 of the 70,000 invitations. They're given out according to how much...